in Papiamento is cultural and special to this island of Aruba. There is one man in particular who is celebrated for his contribution in this regard. We will get into that in just a minute. Because Aruba used to be a colony of the Dutch kingdom, there was a time when Aruba was hungry, starving even, for its own culture. That is when Padu Lampa and a few local iconic artists came together to write songs about Aruba, to remind the community of this island how beautiful this place is, and to always remember to sing loudly and proudly in their own language. Welcome to the home of Padu Lampa. Padu was most well known for co-writing Aruba's national anthem. On the piano is Padu's daughter, Vivian. With the maracas in hand is Padu's son-in-law, Victor. Naturally, Padu has a musical family. Padu passed away in 2019 and left a legacy for a lifetime. He dedicated a large part of his life to writing, composing, and producing music in Papiamento, including the island's national anthem, Aruba, Dushi, Tera. Vivian takes great pride in continuing to share her father's story.
You know, I've always called him Padu from day one. I know most people will say papi or papai or whatever, but I've always called him Padu, and my mother never told me you're supposed to call your father, you know, dad or papi. I've always called him Padu, yes.
When Padu wrote Aruba Dushi Tera, no one knew it was going to be the island's national anthem. The song was written in 1952. Vivian tells us how Padu always retold the story to her, and it turns out the circumstances in the 50s of Aruba drove the song to be written.
But people in those days were not thinking Papiamento. All the schools, everything was in Dutch. I remember we were not even allowed to speak only outside. When we are in the classroom, if you're caught speaking Papiamento, you know, it was like, no, you have to write 10 times because you were caught speaking Papiamento.
Aruba was in need of its own culture, and music played an integral role.
So at that time, there was a friar here, Friar Alexis, who really noticed that the kids don't have an identity because we're singing all the liedjes, the songs from Holland. About windmills, we never saw a windmill. And now there's one there that they carried over from Holland and brought it here. So we're talking about rivers and all sorts of things that we never saw.
Fred Alexis approached Padu to compose music in Papiamento for the community of Aruba, and soon after, Aruba Dushi Tera was born. Aruba was having an identity crisis, and there was a need for something poetic to remind the community what an amazing and beautiful place this island really is.
So he told me that when he decided with Rufo they're going to make a song that talks about Aruba, nos barranca tan stima. So all of a sudden people were aware that they have to love this rock. Barranca is a rock. I mean, who wants to love a 30-mile rocky, sunny, windy island? Sometimes it looks like a desert. You might have seen when the tourists drive around, they see a lot of desert, but you see a beauty in it. And Padu saw the beauty in it. You know, the palm trees, our beaches, and the people.
Besides for the national anthem, another one of Padu's iconic songs is Aboso, which was inspired by Vivian's mother, Daisy.
Ay marita wen noche mes, ay marita awar bes. Mi pare entregabo tu mi corazón.
lives in a home that is essentially a shrine to her father. She was always eager to share his story of how he created music in Papiamento. With that said, for Padu's legacy and music to live on depends on the people of Aruba to keep it alive.
I'm 76. I mean, we're in that last part of our lives, or I might be around, 5, 10 years, who knows, maybe 15, I don't know, that's not in my hand. But the ones that should really keep it alive is the next generation. So we have to do something for that to happen. And I think radio stations are very important.
Continuing to sing songs in Papiamento loudly and proudly is one way of preserving this precious part of the island's culture and heritage.
Bo playa ng tanto admira, cu palmas turdorna, bo escudo y bandera ta, orgullo di nostur. O Aruba, Dushi, Tera, nos barangka tan stima, nos amor pabota sinagrandi, kuntinada pa kibre, kuntinada